You could be wiser as an educated advisor. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Advices, content providers for financial professionals. On today's show, Estimating Your Life Expectancy, part 4 in our series on developing a financial profile. So let's get down to business. Welcome to our fourth segment. Remember, this whole week, all we're doing is taking time out to try to arrange our financial profile. We're building out a profile. Again, it's not so much a science, but we're trying to look at it and using the 5 segments as a building block to at least establish a firm foundation so that you have a reference point for how you can move forward. We're looking here, this next one in our segment is we're trying to figure out, hey, how long am I going to live? Because my retirement is going to be totally predicated on this. And again, if you're a millennial, I think you're going to be the starting gate numbers, the Social Security, and all these other numbers that are at 62, 66, and 70 for baby boomers are going to be sent into the future. So you could be retiring at 70 at the earliest. Don't be surprised if it happens. And not only are you going to start later, I think you're going to live 30 years easy to age 100. And boy, think about it. Right now, we have some revolutions happening. How many remember, of course, Willard Scott? He was the weatherman, America's weatherman. And every day he would celebrate somebody turning age 100. Now, every day we'd chuckle and we'd see this person, oh, look at that person, he just turned 100. And they put their name on the front of a Smucker's jar, which was the sponsor for that segment. Think about it. Can you imagine yourself being on, if he had this show, and of course he's not doing this anymore, but if he had this, whose face would you put on this? Could you imagine your face on the Smucker jar where you would actually be sitting there being celebrated for age 100? Now, when you think about it, Ida Mae Fuller was age 100. Who's Ida Mae Fuller, you ask? Well, Ida Mae Fuller was the first Social Security recipient. Her total amount contributed into the Social Security system was a paltry $24.75. They expected people during the 1941 CSO, the mortality table we used for Social Security, to be dead by 62 to 65. Nobody was supposed to be around by then. But she decided to live to age 100. So she put down $24.75, but her total benefits throughout her life, all the way to age 100, $22,888. It's not that we don't have money in Social Security, we're just living way too long, way past what we ever thought those support timelines were going to give us. So when you think about age 100, think about Ida Mae Fuller. She cashed in. Look at that revenue. Wow. Then you're looking at Suzanna Jones. Now, I don't know if you know this. She died in May 2016. She was America's last tri-centurion. She died at 116. She was born in 1899. And she died in May of 2016. She was a tri-centurion. She was a centurion, a tri-centurion, and a super centenarian teenager, 116. And there's only one, to my knowledge, left. One tri-centurion left. I can't remember what, I think it's in a South American country, where she's 117, and she will be the last tri-centurion in the world. But think about this. All these children we had in the 1990s, all the way up and through 2000, almost all those children are going to be tri-centurions. The mortality revolution is taking place. But we need to know this because our mortality, we need to know our longevity because it's going to make a big economic difference in your lifestyle. So we got to start looking at this. And you say, well, Steve, these are outliers. These are the extremes. But I'm telling you, these numbers, even though they look extreme, they're going to become more and more commonplace. Look at Jean Calment. This gal out of France, she wasn't a tri-centurion. She died before the year 2000, but she lived 122 years, 164 days. She is the Guinness Book of World Records, and nobody's right now that close to her at this time. I think the closest person still 3 to 5 years from her. So when you look at this number, is this number a staggering number? Think about this. If she had an annuity and she had that annuity, her expectation back in her day was to be dead at 79. Every single month past age 79, Jean would be taking money. The internal rate of return on an annuity on a woman like this at this kind of outlier, this kind of numbers, staggers the imagination. By the way, I'm a Star Trek fan, so I like Star Trek. Look at, in the actual Next Generation, Bones, or Dr. Leonard McCoy, actually entered the Enterprise. And at that time, they had marked him in the future. We'll see longevity. They said that the Admiral, Dr. Leonard McCoy, was going to actually live, he actually was 137 years when he boarded the Enterprise D, or the beginning episode of The Next Generation. I want you to think about this. That number back in the day, maybe in the 80s when this came out, oh, I'm sorry, this came out in, about the late 80s, that number seemed preposterous. It doesn't seem so preposterous now. When you're thinking about it, think about Captain Montgomery Scott. They found him in a transporter in a loop for 75 years, according to the fictitious episode. At that time, the captain was 147 because he was delayed, almost like having cryogenic freezing, except for he was caught in a transporter beam for 75 years. 147, it sounds like a lot. So could a human actually live that long? Well, I don't know. But in the actual Star Trek Next Generation script, Ambassador Sarek lived to 203. He died on the Enterprise D at 203. Okay, he's an alien. We don't even know if they exist. But I'm just trying to exacerbate my argument here. And think about it. Here's a guy who just wrote a book called The End of Death. I'm serious. And his name is Dr. Aubrey de Grey. He's one of the foremost gerontologists in Europe. He already says that the person who will live to age 100 has already been born. And I just want to say, just from a little entertainment point of view, there are a couple carriers, one of which I know off the top of my head, that actually shows illustrations to age 130. The maturity dates for most contracts now are 120 to 121, and some contracts, not all, but some contracts don't even put a date on it any longer. They say the life of the policy insured. I mean, think about this. We're moving out. When I came into this business, I was on the 1958 CSO, where most mortality, or endowment, I should say, endowment or maturity dates, ended somewhere around 85 to age 90. Now we're all the way up into the 2001 CSO, and remember, we're building the 2017 CSO right now at the Society of Actuaries. They're already building this out. They have a lot of it. You can go out there right now and look at what's happening out there. It's astonishing. And you're going to be looking at a person, according to Dr. Aubrey de Grey, a person who's going to live to 150, and they're already on the earth, according to him. Now, I want you to say, Steve, that's preposterous. I just don't see that kind of number. But we have not even seen any medical technology or advances yet that will push these numbers out. Think about that. Our growth has been really good in medical technology. We've made new advances, but we've had nothing stunning yet. And I say that's yet to come, and it'll come in our lifetime. So you're going to see some serious numbers come out of here. Now, when you think about it, centenarians, and because everybody say, well, I could see maybe living to age 100. So people that are living, the U.S. has about 72,000 actual people that are 100 right now, seniors that are 100. Worldwide, somebody says some of the estimates are about 450,000. And by the year 2050, the day that Steve's going to be right around 100 himself, there could be up to 3 million centenarians. Think about it. When you go to Japan and Okinawa, they have a whole set of people that are living into their hundreds. Is it the diet? Is it the weather? Is it somehow the environment around Okinawa? Whatever's going on over there, there's some huge, huge impact on mortality. We have to start thinking we're all going to be living, even boomers, myself, decent health and so forth. We're going to be into our late 80s, early 90s as a male. Right now, the Wall Street Journal put out, I think it was October 28th, 2014, they put out the new estimate source list from the Society of Actuaries. They said it's going to be some really unbelievable numbers. They said that the average male is 86.6 and the average female is 88.8. So if you don't want to go out to agewave.com or age100.com and take a questionnaire to kind of get into where you think you're going to live and how long you're going to live, you could take the averages. Remember, if a male averages 86.6 in our society, that means that half of those American males are going to live longer than that. If the average female is 88.8, that means that half of those ladies will live beyond that. The half of America. So think about it. These are averages right now that we're looking at. And if you're in a marriage and you're the survivor, the person who survives your spouse, the odds are, and this proves the fact that marriage has actually a good actual number and impact on your health, you'll actually live to be an average of 93. But I say, technology, something's going to happen in the next 10, maybe 20 years. There's going to be some serious medical advances, and those advances are going to cause us to live longer. And I think you need to start plotting every one of your ideas, retirement, estate planning, long-term care planning, that you're going to be around to age 100, and you need to start thinking in these terms, not in the terms of dying in the 75 to 85 tier. That, I think, those days are going to be gone for the average American. So you need to be able to create this kind of idea. What is my mortality? If you don't want to take those tests, then here, use the averages. But I just plead with you, if you're going to take the test, you have to be honest. Not what you should have been doing all this time, but what you're actually doing now. They'll give you a number that you'll be able to look at. I did mine. I tried to be as ruthlessly honest with myself. It showed me dying at about 91 to 92, somewhere in that vicinity. I kind of did it for my wife, and she was in her late 90s based on that, and she has serious longevity in her family, as do I. So we need to, part of our developing a financial profile is to develop what we think our life expectancy is going to be. Don't forget to watch our next segment on understanding your risk tolerance, part 5 in our series on developing a financial profile. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or compliance officer. And don't forget, you can subscribe to my consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Daily content that you can post on your website, social media accounts, and database distribution. I'm Steve Savant. Thanks for watching.